Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. It's just Shannon today, but not just me, because I have on the phone, as I said, it would probably be on the phone, Vince Redmond is with us. He is a regular, and normally you get to see Vince's shining face, but he is being flexible with us because our Skype is not working, as you know from watching the last interview. And we're working on that, but sometimes it's just not going to happen. But Vince, we didn't want to let this go. So Vince, thank you so much for being with us on the phone.
No problem. How are you?
I'm good, and I'm glad to be talking to you. And I wondered if we could talk a little bit about, because we share all the time on the show about the fact that you're a licensed marriage and family therapist. And I think that, it makes a certain amount of sense to people that it is a great thing to have access to a licensed marriage and family therapist, especially when you have a kiddo who's on the autism spectrum. But this is a relatively new kind of endeavor that having a lot of times people go and they have behavioral therapy with their ABA therapist, and if they decide to go to an LMFT, they do that separately. I think CARD, if I'm not mistaken, is one of the first places to recognize the benefit of having both from the same place. And I think that my recollection of it is that you were the person who was instrumental in making that happen. And I just, on behalf of a whole lot of parents, I want to thank you for the work that you do, and how uniquely qualified you are for this, because you are a licensed marriage and family therapist, but you are also somebody who has done ABA therapy for years. You've been an exemplary therapist and helped to train the next generation of people coming through with some of the things that you've done. You're even featured in the video Recovered. So that was a mouthful, and I am going to let you talk.
I appreciate it.
But we love you, and we think that you are so valuable to our families. But I wanted you to talk a little bit about why a licensed marriage and family therapist is a good thing for families that are dealing with autism, and what in particular an LMFT can do.
Right. Yeah, and as we all know, there's adding stressors to our life just continues to make things more complicated. And there's no bigger stressor than when anyone's child was diagnosed with autism. I've always said, and I will continue to say, autism is more of a family disorder than it is an individual disorder.
Yeah.
Because it affects everybody in the family, everyone from the nuclear family to extended family, the family of friends, right?
Amen to that.
We leave our kids, we change, we have to change, we have to do things differently, we have to communicate differently. And oftentimes when we have to do these things, we need guidance or we help that help guide us on how to do that. Now, the behavioral help side, all CARD supervisors, and I'm sure every other agency, for others that are currently watching that are with other agencies, have supervisors that are able to do that on the behavioral aspect of things. How to consecrate a behavior, how to follow through with the preference assessment, how to follow through with the digital schedule, those types of things. But what about how to communicate with your spouse? How to best cope with all your work, household, and personal stressors? How to grieve that your child has now just been diagnosed with autism? These are all different types of things that exceed the training, the capacity, and experience for most PCAs and supervisors that are out there doing applied behavioral therapy. So my conjecture was to combine the two, right? Being able to have services within not only our agency but our community, because we are able to service the community. It's not just CARD families, it's any family that are experiencing types of anxieties or physical issues or communication, couples, family issues, so that we can find the right way to alleviate these stressors, help give them strategies on how to deal with things, help improve that part of life so that they'll have more resources, capacity, energy, and hope in being able to work with their child, to be able to work with their ABA program as well.
Yeah, I think back to the early days when Jem was diagnosed with autism, and in the very beginning, I was so overwhelmed, but there was so much to be done that's all I could think about. And then once we got started with CARD and I could see that we were going to make some progress, I didn't know how much progress, but it was the first inkling that I thought, okay, I need some mental help for me. And my husband and I need ways, we don't have other examples to point to because we didn't at the time. So we didn't even have something that we could look at. There wasn't even a show called Parenthood where we were seeing another set of parents struggle. We were kind of on our own. And I remember saying, is there something? Is there something? Is there somebody that I can go to? And I went to just a therapist that my insurance paid for, and there were benefits to that. I don't want to say that there weren't benefits to it, but I will say this, Vince, that when I was talking to her about some of the things that were going on in our home and some of the constraints that we were doing because we were doing a 40-hour in-home ABA program, this was completely outside of her experience. And so I didn't feel like she understood how I was prioritizing things. And one of her suggestions was, well, you need to do less of that, which I was like, no, you don't get it. Like, that's not the advice that I need right now. I need somebody to tell me, strategies for my personal existence. And here's this thing that, we need to do for our son. It's the right thing to do. And to give me the best strategies to get through it so that we don't just survive, but that we can potentially thrive. So for me, knowing that you are someone who totally gets that side of it, I just think that your support is invaluable.
And that's actually a growth and that's what we're trying to do. Well, this is twofold. Trying to give more experience to MFTs that are out there. It's a growing field. It's a growing level of experience, but it also is a different trainings and types of continuing education that MFTs can now get. Some of it's provided by us out at different conferences and so forth. But it's to get to know the autism spectrum disorder, how that impacts families, how it impacts their needs, how to manage a family when you have a child that's on the spectrum. So the field just of marriage and family therapy is evolving as well to gain more experience with that. But that involves more experience, more education with the professionals, but also, again, like any specialty, we have that ability internally with that to have that specialty of working with families that have special child with special needs, because that's what we do. So the blending of the two worlds, while it's still evolving, there still is a great number of highly trained marriage and family therapists or psychologists that have no training, no experience, no education in the form of how to manage a family that has special needs. So a lot of times that's out of their wheelhouse, it's out of their ballpark, and they don't really have the insight that you guys need.
And so when we're looking for, like, if you're a card family, all you need to do is to ask for card services, family services, and it's available to them, right? Do they have to ask anybody in particular?
No, they can contact me directly or ask their supervisor, and then their supervisor will contact me directly. Okay. And then like any other service, will do verification of funding and coverage, and then set it all up, and then set up either with a local marriage and family therapist, or if you're in an area that doesn't have a local therapist, we can also do telehealth in California,
right,
and in Virginia, where we're able to meet via teleconference, but it's live action, it's in real time, but it's also in the comforts of your own home.
Love that. But so if somebody's not a member of a card family, you were mentioning that our services that your services that are card family services are still available to them even if they're not a card family. So they could look at the locations tab and see if there is a card office near them where they could do that, or they could do the telehealth. But for somebody who doesn't live in those states and can't access card family services for various and sundry reasons, let's say that they're someplace else, what are the things that they want to ask an LMFT to see if it's a good fit? Do they want to ask them if they have experience with autism?
I would. I think especially I've been in practice as an MFT for over 13 years, and I think it's very understandable on the therapist point of view for a patient or a client to come in and ask questions. right? Ask about training, ask about, philosophy, ask about, experience level working with what your needs are, because that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a professional who can help, with your needs, right? Your specific set of, dynamics and values. And to asking of that and kind of, doing maybe a little phone interview, what I would call, I think is absolutely appropriate. And you can let them know, again, these are the challenges you're having, and you wanted to know what their experience level is working at. And this way you can help find a professional that you feel comfortable with and that will understand not only the stressors and anxieties that might be going through, but also understand the dynamic of how to work with an ABA program as well as with their marriage and family recommendations.
Well, all of it is great advice, Vince, and you are such a wonderful resource for us here at Autism Live, but also for CARD and for CARD families. I hope that more families will take advantage of these services, because I've seen in our lives that if you don't take care of these things now, you're going to have to take care of them later on. And everybody's happier sooner when you have people to talk to who can help you through sometimes just having that other perspective, or to have a place where you can go and say your truths and know that you're not going to be judged is so valuable. So valuable.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's what you bring.
Absolutely. And not only to not be judged, but to feel that you're going to be supported, to feel that this professional is going to have some insight, have some advantages, have some tools that are going to be able to help you guys. Because there's a lot of stuff going on around you, right? There's your child and the services they need, but there's a lot of other stuff. The world doesn't stop turning.
Yeah.
So we need to do everything we can to give them those supports so that they're able to manage all of it, not just part of it.
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. Amen to that. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but we have you back in just, I believe, 2 more weeks, Vince, back on the show. And on that show, we think that you and I are going to be talking about the fact that we think you and I are going on the road. We think we're not
sure.
We're not sure. But we think that you and I are going to New Orleans for the Autism Society of America conference. We haven't gotten absolute confirmation on that, but we think that's what's happening. It's written on a piece of paper. There are no plane tickets yet, but it's written on a piece of paper. So if you are thinking of coming to the Autism Society of America conference in New Orleans, there's a good chance that you'll have the opportunity to meet myself and Vince. We'll be at the CARD booth. And I believe my son will be there with us as well. So it could be a really good time. But so if we're getting confirmation on that, and if that is the case, we will let you know when we have Vince back on the show in 2 weeks. And I'm hoping, Vince, that if we are there, that Nancy will be here in the studio, and you and I can be doing some Skype things from the booth back with the Autism Live folks. So that could be very fun, with maybe some special guests. All right, well, Vince, we thank you so much for every breath you take and everything that you do. I don't think you have any idea how much you help so many families. But I know, and I appreciate you, we all appreciate you, and I would implore anybody who's having issues, reach out and see if you can be a part of getting the help and support that Vince's team provides, because it's pretty spectacular. So Vince, thank you, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks. But you and I will talk sooner to see if we're going to New Orleans.
Exactly.
Taking our show on the road.
Exactly. We're on the road.
On the road. All right. Thanks, Vince. Have a great weekend.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Truly one of the people that I admire so much, and who's been doing things for autism families for 20 years now, I think more than 20 years. And again, you can see, if you want to see a very young Vince, you can watch the DVD Recovered, which follows 4 individuals as they were going through their early therapy, and it shows them as teenagers. And Vince is one of the therapists working with them when they were little, when he was just a youngin', I think, before he had his babies. And then you get to see him when they were teenagers, and now, of course, you get to see Vince. It's like another 10 years later. So in any case, there's that. Now tomorrow, the plan for tomorrow. I think we're going to be here tomorrow. I think we're going to be doing a show. We've got an exciting guest, a mom, Blanca Dura, who has an amazing story to tell about her son first being denied his graduation with his peers, and a graduation that took place for him in its place that will fill your heart. And then some really exciting things having to do with summer and things that we can do this summer. So look for us tomorrow. If we're not here, it's because we're having technical issues, but I'm fingers crossed. We got here today. And we really want to thank Matt for pulling it out today and pulling it out yesterday so that today could happen. He's doing a wonderful job, so thank you to Matt. Hopefully we see you tomorrow. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.